Good morning and War Eagle War Report family. Your man Ike Jones here. It is January 2nd, man. We're in the new year and we are here on the morning drop to talk a little bit about the defense. Both Nehemiah, Pritchett, and DJ James announced their intentions to return for the next season. What does this mean for Auburn's defense and secondary? Let's talk about it right here on the morning drop.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
Morning drop time. Ike Jones, B. Will here. B. How we feeling today, man? Monday morning, New Year. All that good stuff. I mean, we were here on the New Year yesterday, but no, still
We were.
first morning drop of the year. You know?
First morning drop of the year. Feeling good, man. These morning drops feel good. Feel like we knock something out early. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We cover something we need to cover. You know what I'm saying? It's a good way
Makes
to start the
makes
day.
your day feel productive right off the top, man.
It does.
Speaking of productivity, we got our sponsor in here, Rogue Shop. You guys make sure you head over to the Rogue Shop using code RAPPORT, rogueshop.com, if you want to be able to get some stuff for like focus and things like that. They've got those things over there. So like categorizing like what it is that you need on the shop, you can go there and just say, hey, I want something for this. Rogue Shop's going to have you covered. Make sure you head over there, use code RAPPORT for 10% off of your purchase. If you're here trying to watch the morning drop and you can't comment, it's because you're not a member. We do restrict the chat to the members. Y'all know how it goes. If it's your first time in here on the drop, we appreciate you very much for coming in. And y'all do us a favor and go ahead and like the video. You haven't even heard what we have to say, but I know you're going to love it. Go ahead and like the video right now, whether you're watching it live or you're rewatching this later, and then share it. Let some other people know we're in here doing this morning drop. But B, we're talking about secondary. DJ James, Nehemiah Pritchett, both coming back for the next season. How does it feel to hear that?
Hearing that DJ James was coming back was instantly a sigh of relief. I felt like there was a good chance he was coming back because he didn't announce his intentions when the other draft eligible guys we had announced. So I thought, okay, that window, it's not that it was closing, it's that you needed to declare, you needed to kind of make your intentions known. You needed to find somebody to train with. You got to find an agent. You got to do all that stuff. And for him to be taking this long gave me the idea, okay, that he's probably coming back, right? He's coming back. Because I think that was his best year. That was the one year where he was like, oh, wow, this dude's balling. And he was recognized for it. Postseason accolades. He was he second team all SEC?
Yes.
Second team all SEC. I was like, okay, so he's got a little bit of notoriety, but I'm pretty sure he wants to go top 2, top 3 rounds. He has the ability to do it. He has the talent to get first 2 rounds. So he didn't quite hit that milestone. Our team was bad. Teams just ran on us. It's not like he had the opportunity to go against some dynamic passing offenses and show off against those receivers. Why? Because they could just run it up down our throats. So I'm sure he has something to prove. I think Zach Etheridge still being here, of course, probably has a lot to do with why these secondary guys stayed in place. Wes McGriff as well. He's an outstanding secondary coach and recruiter. So my guess is that these guys got re-recruited along with the incentive that they could improve their stock. And they decided to come back and instantly shore up the back end of our defense. Now, I'm not worried about it at all. I'm not worried about it at all. So that we just, I don't want to say we plugged the hole. That hole wasn't there because they didn't leave, but them staying. Now our focus is squarely on pass rush, interior defensive line, linebackers. And if this staff can find a way to plug that front 7, we might be looking dangerous next year.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. When guys return, it's always exciting because you know that they're good. But I always wonder what it does for people who are behind them hoping to get playing time that next season. Right. So I do wonder if there are guys who, are now still going to be second, third on the depth chart at the outside corner slot who are like, maybe I need to just go and get up out of here. Right. But we'll see how that plays out. I think as we get into the camp and guys are starting to see what's going on. Most people are super excited about DJ James. Nehemiah Pritchett's one of those guys that is kind of polarizing, right? Like some
Right.
people are like, yes, happy to see him come back, experience, blah, blah. And other people are like, I don't know, Pritchett, right? Whatever for that. But what I did was I went and pulled up grades. So there's not a lot of places where you can go for grades. So whether you like the grading there or not, it's what we have. So I went to PFF and I looked up grades. Um, Nehemiah Pritchett, his overall defensive grade for last season, a 70.2, which is pretty good, right? Um, his coverage, 72.5, again, pretty good. So he was targeted 58 times last season. How many of those do you think were receptions of those 58 targets going in the direction of young Nehemiah Pritchett?
Maybe somewhere between 18 and 25.
28.
Okay, a little more. Okay.
28. DJ James, overall defensive grade 82.4, grade 85.7. Targeted 59 times, so one additional target. Receptions, take a guess on him.
How many times was he targeted?
59.
59.
So one additional target, 58 for Pritchett, 59 for DJ James.
15.
24.
No, more than I thought.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean there were necessarily 20-yard bombs.
Yeah,
right.
But I guess my point here is, as good as DJ James is in everybody's mind, Nehemiah Pritchett's not so much worse.
Right. Now, his because his grades are a full 10 percentage points worse. So, I mean, it's significant. They're grading something. I don't know if they're grading, technique, ability to close the gap, get their hands on the ball. I'm not sure exactly how they grade the corners.
Yeah,
but
I mean, so a lot of what happens, and so to answer that, a lot of what happens with those grades are about being in position on plays and being where you're supposed to be, coverage bust, coming up in because it's a total defensive grade, so that grade includes how you're tackling in space and all that kind of thing. But anyway, continue your thought.
But yeah, so we know that the balls were completed on both guys, and that's not I don't think under 50% it's not a terrible clip. You want if your quarterback is only throwing it at these two guys and you're hovering right around 50%, any quarterback only completing 50% is not having a very good game. So that's a good percentage. But again, how I would love to see how many of those were, your guy is catching the screen pass on this play, but you tackle him after 2 yards. You know what I mean? Like that's the stuff that we don't know just from that grade. And that will be my guess why DJ James is higher than Nehemiah Pritchett's.
Yeah. I mean, listen, a lot of it. So when we're talking about like actual tackling ability, though, that's where you see the big disparity between the two.
Oh, okay.
74.6 for DJ James, 55.2 for Nehemiah Pritchett.
Yeah.
So not as great at tackling according to these statistics. Again, this is what I have to go off of is PFF. There aren't a lot of places that do in-depth analytics on this type of thing. And it's not as if they're giving the secret sauce to their analytic models. But this is what we have to go off of. So I'm utilizing this because it's at my disposal to be able to see. One thing I like about our defensive secondary that I saw based upon this, oddly enough, I was randomly looking at some stuff as far as grades, and Auburn was in the top 50 last year in first downs surrendered, like lowest first down surrendered in the top 50 last year. So defense, though spotty at times, was definitely not the issue for this team. Right, we were playing solid defense for the vast majority of this season. There were a couple of games where the dam broke, right? Like defense was just terrible, more in the second half. But defense not the biggest issue. Of the top 10 defensive graded players on this team, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them were in the defensive secondary.
Well, yeah.
Now,
yeah,
of those top 10 that I just named, 1, 2, 3 of them were in less than 5 games. So if we really distill that down, they move up to the top 7. 7 of the 5 of the top 7 players on this defense were in the defensive secondary. That's DJ James, Donovan Kaufman, Keontae Scott, my guy, Jalen Simpson, and Nehemiah Pritchett.
Well, I mean,
That's the back end right there. So
yeah.
another feather in the cap of Zach Etheridge
Mm-hmm.
to say, listen, man, my guys were holding it down. And that's
Yeah.
evident. Like the defensive secondary was solid for us the vast majority of this season.
Yeah.
I think people expect perfection out of these guys for whatever reason. Like we're just gonna lock people. Listen, everybody swears Georgia has the best DBs in the country right now. They was out there looking silly against Ohio State. Ohio
Yeah, they
State
were.
receivers had them boys looking real bad.
Yeah, they were.
You're gonna have games where the other team gets the best of you, and there are certain teams that just throw the ball really well. That happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mississippi State's one of the best passing offenses in the country, and we looked real bad the first couple of drives against them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the issue, I think, for this team is not that we don't have good secondary play. It's that our pass rush was not there.
Yeah.
Echo Leota, one of the guys who was ranked in that top 10 that I just mentioned, only played 5 games for this team.
Did he declare yet?
He has not declared. So I actually had this conversation, and I looked into it. I was trying to look into it a little bit more before we got on because I was thinking about it. He did accept his invitation to the Senior Bowl.
Right.
And so I don't know if that's a quasi declaration of the draft. Like, I don't know if you can go accept the Senior Bowl and then come back and play the next season. I don't know if you are required to, if you go into the Senior Bowl, that means that you're draft eligible and you intend to declare for the. I don't know how that works.
Right.
But he has not officially put any sort of declaration out there. No.
But I feel like that would definitely be a situation for him to improve his stock, similar to anybody else. This defense was maligned most of the year, and him being missing was definitely a part of that. If you can, I think there's a good sell job you can put on that says, hey, come and be the anchor as far as a pass rusher here. You had an excellent showing early last season. Come and be the star, the thing that people are looking at, the scouts are looking at on that defensive line early. Help these other guys come along. All you do is finish the season healthy, playing like you were playing early last year, and you're a first 2-round draft pick. Yeah. And I absolutely think he could be that. So I think there's a sell job there for him. Otherwise, why wouldn't he have declared already?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know if the whole Senior Bowl thing, but he hasn't put the whole statement out of thank you, Auburn family, for the past 2 years. It's been wonderful. I want to thank Coach Rock Bellantoni for blah, 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 blah. And you haven't seen all that. To my Northwestern family,
Are you saying that that those statements are very cookie cutter and annoying?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to the draft. That's all you need to say, bro. This isn't an Oscar accepted speech. And, because here's the thing. People dissect those things too much. You notice who he didn't thank in this statement.
Yeah, man. Come on.
He didn't mention his cousin from the 3rd grade. He must not be on good terms with him anymore. It becomes this whole thing where what you don't say is just as important as what you do say. And what you do say, I mean, I guess it matters to some people to get mentioned in those things, but ultimately just say, hey, it's been fun, but I'm going to the draft, and keep it pushing, bro.
Right.
Send them a postcard or something if you really want to thank them. But anyway, hey, listen, I've never had to do one of those concession type of things, so I don't know what the protocol is. Anyway, you guys are listening to the Morning Drop right here, the War Rapport. RogueShop.com is our sponsor for this. Make sure that you head over there using code RAPPORT to get 10% off of your purchase. If you're not a member, you want to go ahead and become a member, because that's how you get to chat on these things. Live chatting with us is just a privilege, man, to be able to talk to our family. I don't mean it's a privilege for you, it's a privilege for us, but we do want to have that conversation with family members, and we appreciate you guys coming up in here this morning to talk to us to kick off the new year. Your boy is feeling generous once again. So for the Morning Drop, 10% off of your purchase at thewarrapport.com. As you can see there, we do have the new 4th and Kiffin shirts available on the shop. So you guys can head over there now to get that shirt. We teased that yesterday, gave away one yesterday on the live stream. No giveaway today, but we can get 10% off of your purchase. Whatever you purchase, doesn't have to be one of these shirts, but 10% off your purchase if you use code TMD10 for today only. Let's get back into the conversation, and we're going to head to the comment section to see what people are saying. You are listening to the Morning Drop right here. Your man Ike Jones, B Will, live and in effect on the first Morning Drop of the new year. Michael Carlisle comes in with the first question or statement here. Said Pritchett and James are coming are two of the biggest recruiting wins of the off season.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a part of your recruiting effort now has to be internal, right? Like it's got to be convincing guys not to go to the portal and that you have a plan for them. I think it's a big win for them not declaring to go to the draft, not transferring. Well, DJ James couldn't transfer. He's already used his free transfer. Nehemiah Pritchett could have if he wanted to. Um, both of them could have declared for the draft. And then they still have a job to do with the reserves, right? Because you never know, a guy can get injured. You need quality depth. And I think the effort to keep depth and keep guys engaged that are not getting starting reps is going to be a hard job. So looking forward to seeing how Auburn football deals with that as we get into spring ball.
Yeah, so that's a question I have. Do you sit, not sit, but you've got to find minutes for not only DJ James, of course. Like you're not going to have to fight to find him minutes because he's the best corner on the team.
Right.
Keontae Scott, he didn't play all the opposite corner, but is that something you look at now? Austin Osbury was on campus for a full year. All right, it's time to take the wrapper off of him and go ahead and see if he's got what it takes to contribute. And then you just flipped Kalen Lee. Or Kayan Lee. I want to call him.
It's Kayan Lee. Yeah.
You just flipped Kayan Lee. Or you got to show him the field.
Yeah. You got to figure out what's the role going to be for him. You got guys like JD Rim who played well in spot duty when he was in there, that you got to figure out what your role for him is going to be. There's a lot of guys that are on this team in this defensive secondary that didn't get minutes. We haven't even gotten over to the safety position because then it becomes complicated with Donovan Kaufman coming back from injury, with the play of Simpson, who had moved to the safety position. You never played Marquise Gilbert, the guy who came in from the JUCO, #1 highly rated safety in JUCO. The transfer kid from Iowa State, Craig McDonald, didn't get very many minutes. Zion Puckett still back there in that defensive secondary, potentially going up to linebacker, but still very much there in the picture there. So there's a lot of guys. Caden Bridges, who played well for you in spot duty. You still got Caleb Wooden, who is back there in that defensive secondary. Loaded defensive secondary. Sylvester Smith just got a new freshman that just came in, highly recruited flip from Tennessee. The defensive secondary has a lot of talent back there. How you're going to rotate those guys in and out, and how you're going to make sure everybody stays happy in their spot. There's going to be two things. It's going to be, of course, finding them minutes, whether that's on special teams or rotational duty, and you're going to have to win football games. If you're sitting on the bench and you're losing, like that, nobody wants to do that.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Brian Hancher jumps in here, says, one of my friends at my Legion post is an Ole Miss alum. I need to buy a 4th and Kiffin t-shirt. Go for it, my guy. Wear it proudly in his face. Kelsey Gardner says, I feel what Ike is saying. I don't want someone like Osbury to transfer, but at the same time, if he's good enough, he will play. KN Lee will be on the field early 100%. So here's the thing. Good enough, he will play. He could be good enough and not play because the guy in front of him is good enough as well. That's a choice of like who is either more experienced. Like if he plays, if he doesn't play, I don't want people to think that that's an indication that he's not good, unless the person in front of him is struggling. And then you have to wonder, well, is he that good because he couldn't beat this guy out for minutes? What's the reasoning there? Like, that's a thing that's become a head scratcher for a lot of people. It's like, if such and such isn't playing well, why is he still playing over this other person who we haven't seen? And that becomes a thing where we have to sit here and debate, is there a better person to be in here playing right now? Or are we just that bad at this position?
Yeah, that's rough.
Imani Smoots, appreciate the super chat. Nehemiah might not be the best corner, but I believe he will shine in the star position closer to the line of scrimmage. See, this is an interesting thing. The star position is usually like a hybrid linebacker DB type. I think that is more suited for a person like Keontae Scott, or even if you want to go like full linebacker size for a guy like Puckett, right? Somebody who has played DB/safety a lot, or somebody who has been playing a lot of DB but played safety for us last season in I just said his name a second ago, Jalen Simpson, right? So like, I think those guys are actually up, and Jalen Simpson is as sure a tackler as there is, right? 73.9 was his tackling grade according to PFF last year. And he's played the safety position. So those guys, to me, I think are prime suspects to play that star position. But it's going to be interesting to see how we do that defensive backfield under the new defensive coordinator, Ron Roberts. Brian Hunter jumps back in and asks, wouldn't improved linebacker play help the DBs in some situations?
I mean, yeah. if you know that your linebackers aren't going to be lunch food out there and be out of position, once your linebackers are suspect, then a good offensive coordinator is just going to attack. He's going to get them out of position with misdirection. They're going to run routes that isolate those linebackers and force them to cover guys, and everybody's going to look worse if your linebackers aren't at least principally sound on where to be in their assignments. Not to mention, if they can't tackle, then you're just going to run right at them and get big yards. Your guys might not even have to cover. It's just going to, it's not going to be a good deal. Now, the pass rush can instantly help the defensive backfield. You get a quarterback nervous, he starts getting more iffy with the throws, accuracy goes, rush throws. Now he's overthrowing guys. You're getting picks, you're getting tips. Right. They're not coming close to their target. So that is going to be what we need. And that's what we really didn't have. I mean, I said this consistently throughout the year. Derek Hall is a great defensive end. He is not an unstoppable defensive end. Echo Leota was much more of an unstoppable defensive end, which is it's third and long. He is going to either get home or he's at least going to get pressure. The Derek Hall could be blocked, but he was relentless. If the pocket gets a little messy, bodies start falling all over the place, he's going to stay on that play and not give up once it goes to the opposite side of the field, and he's going to run it down. And in a way that you wouldn't have expected him to be the person to make that tackle. And that was to Derek Hall's credit. We did not have, once Echo Leota went down, a guy that you feared on 3rd and 6 or more. We didn't. And that was the problem with why it was so hard to get guys off of the field, to get offenses off of the field. Like we didn't give up a lot of first downs on 3rd downs, but they didn't have to get to 3rd down a lot of times. That's the problem. Our running defense was so poor that they could just move it down the field effortlessly. They're scoring on 1st down, they're scoring on 2nd down. So we have enough issues outside of defensive backfield to where, yes, they can put undue pressure on the defensive backfield, because the what's working up front isn't working. What we got up front isn't working. We need to be at least sound everywhere so that each one of these position groups has an opportunity to make their impact on the field, and linebacker was definitely a weakness.
Yeah. The thing with linebacker play, to your point, is the rush defense more so than anything else, right? Like your linebackers in coverage, they're going to be doing some zone responsibilities, and in a man situation, they're probably going to be covering a tight end or a running back. That wasn't a big thing. I can't think of games where running backs went wild on us in the pass game, or tight ends went wild on us in the pass game, right? So from a pass coverage standpoint, linebacker play wasn't terrible. It wasn't great in some of the zone stuff that we were doing. If you've watched me talk about anything on film, you've heard me talk about covering grass and not players, like understanding route combination and actually like attacking a route instead of just being like, well, I'm supposed to be in the middle zone here. So you're just kind of standing there and then guys are running past you. Right. So understanding the combinations that are happening, that happens sometimes with our linebackers. But the biggest issue for the linebacker play was blitzes being called, not getting home on the blitz, and rush defense to get them into 3rd and long scenarios where you get to pin your ears back as a rusher and try to get to that quarterback. So definitely will be helpful. Pass rush marries with pass defense. Like you got to have that on the back end, Shout out to Jared Stidham, for having for having a great game, ultimately lost. Sorry. I mean,
I was watching that thinking Ike doesn't want.
I was very conflicted.
Ike does not want Stidham to have a great game.
No, I wanted him to have a great game and lose. He did everything he was supposed to do. He had a really good game, and then they lost the game. He did it perfectly, and it wasn't even his fault. Speaking of pass rush, Nick Bosa drove offensive tackle back into him as he's attempting to throw, and the pass got picked. That's great pass rush, helping out on the back end. That's what you're supposed to do. Jared Stidham had a great game, and I was so happy to see him do it. Daniel Carlson kicking field goals in the clutch from deep. Great Auburn players, but they lost ultimately the way that they were supposed to. That's exactly how you want it to happen. You love the players, don't like the team, where they're going against the team that you like, have a great game, but lose. Bravo. Bravo. Anyway, let's get back here into these comments here. Matt Reeves jumps in and give me DJ and Scott on the outside, Kaufman at nickel, Simpson and Pritchett at safety. Move Puckett to linebacker, then fill the 2 deep with young guys. This is interesting to have Pritchett at safety. I like everything else you said here. Pritchett at safety, I'm not sure works. I'm not sure he's a good sideline to side. I think that Caden Bridges is a better safety. Marquise Gilbert, I don't know what to think of him yet because he hasn't played a lot.
Of course, Wooden coming
and
up.
Wooden is a good safety as well. I don't know that he's better at safety than any of those people. So and that's where it becomes this odd fit, because he's an outside corner just in his size and his ability. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this works out. He's coming back for another season. Where is he going to fit into this defense? And he's really got to earn that, right? With the new defensive coordinator. And Wesley McGriff is going to be his position coach. So he doesn't have Etheridge to, like he can, but Etheridge isn't coaching up DBs on the outside. He's going to be working with the safety. So I don't know. Maybe he says, hey, man, I can make you start the safety. I don't know. We'll see. Good thought, though. Tom Allison says new coach and staff is going to make it fun for fans in the team. That's a big change. This is going to be a much more aggressive defense, things that fans have been clamoring for the past, 4 years. We want to be more aggressive on defense. We want to be aggressive on defense. Aggressive on defense means a couple of things: more big play potential, one way or the other.
Right.
You gamble and miss, big play.
Yeah.
The bend but don't break was the philosophy of the last 2 defensive coordinators, essentially. Really the last 3. I mean, we say that, Steele wasn't a bend but don't break, but he was. Like, his defense was definitely bend but don't break. But we weren't getting a lot of takeaways. We weren't doing a lot of pressure. We were just basically like, play coverage and go tackle, right? We want to limit it to short games. You go tackle the guys and be sound. But you had to have good defensive line play. And I think our defensive line play, specifically in the pass rush scenarios, and then our rush defense, specifically at the second level, is what let us down most defensively.
Yeah, for sure.
Kelsey jumps in, and to me, this is a good problem to have. We are finally stacking talent. You definitely want to be in a position where you are more so worried about, man, can we keep all this talent, than being like, hey, man, if somebody gets hurt, bro, we screwed.
Now, I think it's definitely easiest to do it in the defensive backfield because you can play 5 guys back there. You can have an additional safety if you want to play a run-heavy team. You can have an additional corner if you want to play a pass-happy team. 1 guy gets nicked up, 2 guys gets nicked up, and they're going to see the field because they're doing so much moving, because they're so quick-twitch athletes back there, and they're facing quick-twitch athletes and wide receivers. There's the best chance to get more guys on the field in the defensive backfield. We got some great recruiters back there, so that also helps keep those guys happy. Those relationships that these recruiters build with those guys allows them to convince them to take smaller roles, allows them to convince them to share these responsibilities and these snaps, and sells them on the opportunity to still get seen, to still get drafted, even not being the full-time permanent starter at one position. So that's the place where we've got excellent recruiters, and we're going to have a lot of talent, and you can get a lot of guys on the field. It's great back there. It's harder at somewhere like quarterback, obviously, because if best case scenario, only 1 guy's going to play there. The same thing with offensive line. We're going to have probably 8 new offensive linemen coming on campus. Best case scenario, 5 spots. I just hope that the guys who have signed on as freshmen are ready to sit, because that's probably going to be what it is with the transfers that we bring in. We'll see how it goes, but that's the easiest place to stack it. I don't want to see those guys leave either. I want to see those defensive backs stay. I want to get the best out of all these guys. I want to see Osbury, man. I want to see Lee. I want to see these guys play and stick around. And hopefully we don't have to have this attrition to the transfer portal in 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, we'll definitely see it. It's a difficult thing to have young guys exercise patience, but hopefully we can convince some guys to do that. Michael Carlisle jumps in again and says, need Dylan Brooks to break out this season. Dylan Brooks is a guy who everybody was excited about coming over, initially a Tennessee commit, but came over during the whole, Chick-fil-A bag scenario up there.
Mhm.
And Tennessee ended up having a pretty good team. So he might be looking in the rearview mirror like, ah man, but it's his time now with the edge position being so wide open. New defensive staff, new guys to come in and make his impression on, to go out there and make some noise. Let's make it happen. Get out here and show why you were such a highly rated recruit coming out of high school.
Yeah, for sure.
Corey Weber says, where do we see Osbury fitting in? Is he outside or nickel? I don't actually know the answer to that as to
Yeah.
whether he is, outside or nickel. He was not here last year in the spring game, I don't believe. So I don't really
Mhm.
have any tape on him there. And I don't really know what he was practicing at, because he never really made the depth chart on the 2 deep for me to really know
Mhm.
that either. So I'm not sure. I could probably find out though. I could find out what he was getting work out in last
Mhm.
year, but that doesn't mean that he's going to continue to be there this year. But I'll definitely find out. Corey once again jumps in and says, just hope DBs turn around and locate the ball in the air.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be nice to actually be able to defend guys and stop them from catching passes and not get as many um pass interference penalties and things of that
Yeah.
nature. So
Even though we had some phantom ones, but whatever.
oh yeah, definitely had some of those happening.
Yeah.
Haley, we appreciate you jumping in. Definitely want to say this: continue prayers for Mike G. The GoFundMe, I need to place that up here again. Actually, I think I've got it right here. I'll pin that in the chat. But if you guys do want to send a few dollars Mike G's way, he definitely could use it. He is unfortunately back in the hospital again, in case you guys have not seen his Twitter update. Um, so that is now in the chat, the GoFundMe there. Had some complications with some stuff. So continue prayers for him, and hopefully he will be back with us once again soon. But that's it, man. We are going to get out of here, and we appreciate you guys dropping in with us. Once again, this is sponsored by Rogue Shop. You guys head to rogueshop.com using code REPORT to get 10% off of your purchase. Rogue Shop is America's #1 online dispensary. Make sure you head over to them for all of your healthy herbal supplement needs. If you're not a member, make sure you become a member of the War Report, and so you can get in on the live chat with this. If you're rewatching this, make sure that you take advantage of joining the War Report to get all these exclusive benefits for today and today only. So for the next 24 hours, we are doing 10% off at the store using code TMD. That's the morning drop, TMD10. 10% off of your purchase at thewarreport.com for whatever you'd like to purchase. Doesn't have to be this Fourth and Kiffin shirt, but if you want to get that, you do get 10% off your purchase. That's it, man. We are out of here. War Eagle to everybody. We'll holler at you guys tomorrow morning on the next drop. But until then, peace.
Peace.